Welcome everybody to another edition of TEW 2020 as for Kanyon WCW 2001 and 2003 as for at the Go Home show for Fall Brawl 2003. So let's start with the pre-show here in front of 11,000 people in Boulder, Colorado. As we've got an abysmal pre-show match with Phoenix, Lynn Cartier, and Jordan Cole defeating Amber O'Neal, Lucina Busek, and Aaron Jonah, aka two developmental territory wrestlers, into 12:03 when Jordan Cole submitted Ronnie Jonah. This gets a 51, Cole gets a 48, Celine Cartier gets a 50, Beth Phoenix gets a 44, Ronnie Jonah gets a 33, Lucina Busek gets a 44, and Amber O'Neal gets a 48. So just a solid, straightforward match that gets some women some in-ring time on the show. But still, perfectly okay match. Now it's time to actually open the show. So the show opens up with Rob Van Dam coming out, and he gets a big pop. Now I'm not going to say it's because it's in Colorado and he's Rob Van Dam, but it's because we're in Colorado and he's Rob Van Dam. But he says he's RVD and he's 6 days away from becoming the one to the world title. And and he says it's going to be tough fighting three people at Fall Brawl, but he knows he can do it because he's Mr. Monday Night and he's going to be the next world champion. The Steiner comes out, Scott Steiner comes out, Scott Steiner does Scott Steiner things, calls RVD a bitch, says he's going to make him tap out, and says in our preview tag match tonight, you're going to see why you're nothing but a punk, and so is everybody else in that ring. Out comes Kanyon with Jordan Lawler. Kanyon says, nobody's better than Kanyon. I should still be the world champion. It's been a long conspiracy. Scott Steiner says, quit whining like a little baby. They get in each other's face, but Kane says, I'll forgive you for that because we got to team up to, kick his ass tonight. And it's like, no, I'm going to kick his ass tonight. You're just going to watch. Then out comes Eddy. Eddy says, yes, I get it. You don't like each other, but at the end of the day, I came here to do one thing. Let's become WCW world champion. And that's what I'm going to do tonight, no matter who I have to face. And, we got a little tense stare down. Set up for the big tag match as our main event tonight to preview the four-way, and there you go. And yeah, this gets a 98 because everybody's real good. Everything was real good here. 98, insanely good promo, and there you go, fun times. They move on to Gail Kim and Lexi James both arguing backstage and basically saying they should be facing Angel Fox one-on-one. But, like she says, I want my four-way. Gail's like, I actually pinned Fox. They basically, says, Gail Kim, she's the best actual wrestler in the company. Like, James talks about being the head bitch and that, Gail Kim's always been in her way. And, they almost start to brawl before they both agree. Okay, fine. We'll take care of a little bond bimbo. Then we'll actually decide who's the top women's wrestler in this company. This gets a 64. And this, moves forward the women's three-way at Fall Brawl for the women's title. We move forward to Yang and Blitz coming out to face Jamie Noble and a bunch of other cruiserweight heels. And then Yang and Blitz bring out their partner, who is Jeff Hardy. Yeah, Jeff Hardy's down in the cruiserweight division just for the moment. And this gets a 54. Just a quick 2-minute thing to pull out Hardy. And then in the actual match, and he both had decent wrestling, but didn't have much heat. Blitzkrieg, Yang, and Jeff Hardy defeated Jamie Noble, Chavo Guerrero, and Kaz at 8:30 when Jeff Hardy pinned Chavo Guerrero with a Swanton Bomb. Kaz sustained a sleepyhead. Okay, I should take that out. Jeff Hardy gets an 81. Jesus. Yang gets a 57. Blitz gets a 55. Kaz gets a 70. Chavo gets a 62. Jamie Noble gets a 63. So Jeff Hardy gets the big win. And overall, it's just a back and forth, steal the show match. Everybody gets their big moves in. Kaz hits a big move. Blitz Yang does some sort of wacky double team flying move. At the end, Jeff Hardy gets the win over Chavo Guerrero Jr. And then Noble attacks Hardy after the match and locks him in the trailer hitch. And then later tonight, it's officially announced that that in a huge cruiserweight title match, it'll be Jeff Hardy taking on Jamie Noble. Then we move forward, where basically Mike Awesome does a quick promo, putting forth, talked about he's talked to Eric Bischoff, and there's going to be a match between Awesome and Storm at Fall Brawl, and one way or the other, we're going to prove who really was the weak link of Team Canada. Just a straightforward quick promo, putting that over. This gets a 63. There you go. Nothing too fancy, but just puts, Awesome over as a tough guy, and there you go. And did I actually pre-book that? I'm looking real quick. Yes, I did. Okay, just double checking. And then we have an extremely short match. Gigantes defeats Jack Evans into 4-3 by pinfall to chokeslam. This is just Gigantes kill. Evans, gets in a quick hope spot of like a couple top rope moves, but in the end, Gigante's and Jack Evans is a very small man, and he gets choke slammed to death. And Gigante gets a 62, Jack Evans gets 64, as sort of like the Helms like Dynasty versus Hart Legacy feud continues, and then Gigante's goes in Teddy Hart tries to make a save. Gigante goes for the double choke slam on both, but out of nowhere comes Ray Jr. to make the save on both, and he hits a huge drop kick that sends Gigante through the second rope, and then there's a stare down between them as the youngsters hype their match at Fall Brawl, and this gets a 73. Just puts that forward through, more straightforward through. And then we have a babyfaces backstage where basically, Booker, Bill, Jason, Jett, and Paul London all, they're talking about war games. Booker says, he's a five-time world champion, but there's been nothing more important than him than finally taking out Deadpool. Goldberg, says Deadpool they're next, and that he's teaming with the next generation of great wrestlers in WCW to prove to the Deadpool that the future is bright in WCW, not dark. 86, actually a fairly straightforward promo, and Jett and Lynn probably helped getting involved in a good angle like this. Good stuff. Then we have Horsemen in ring. This gets 78. I mean, this is a fairly straightforward. Ric Flair talks about that at Fall Brawl, he's going to take Alex Wright to school. He's going to pin him in 2 quick straight falls, and there's going to be nothing the Punk Kid can do about it. Jared Douglas says the tag titles are coming back home where they belong. This gets 78. Fairly straightforward promo, and there you go. Then we go to the actual match. We're in a superb match where it's a freaking 89. The Horsemen of Jarrett, Douglas, and Flair defeats Alex Wright and Air Raid in 1350 when Shane Douglas pins Air Paris with the Billy Willie suplex. This gets an 89. Like I said, Ric Flair gets 76. Shane Douglas gets an 86. Jeff Jarrett gets an 88. Alex Wright gets an 81. Air Paris gets a 78. AJ Styles gets an 85. Douglas basically gets, does a little bit of cheap move, but then gets the big win on Air Raid, gets a pinfall on him. And then he'll celebrate, Jared Douglas make title belt motions as they point at, Styles and Paris in the ring. This gets a 79, and good stuff. And Douglas' gimmick is getting stale, which is something I'll have to fix before the pay-per-view. And Billy Kidman, is cutting a promo backstage. How glorious it was that he knocked Sean O'Hare out of the ring in the Battle Royal, and he was the final competitor, which means, he's going to be the next in line, after Hot Fall Brawl and Havoc to finally get a chance at the main event, because he's greatness, and O'Hare's just a flash of the pan. O'Hare then comes up and is like, I talked to Bischoff, it's you and me at Fall Brawl, and we'll just see who's the future buddy. This officially, because, this is a very, weak setup for a match, but, it's something to get O'Hare and Kidman on the show. Kidman did, basically act like a slimy little heel and knock O'Hare out of the ring during the gauntlet last week. So there you go. And they're set up, and there's a stare down, and this gets an 83. Then we have an RVD and Eddy basically backstage real quick. This is just a quick 3-minute thing. Eddy's like, RVD, I got no problem with you. We've wrestled together before. But just remember, whatever happened tonight at Fall Brawl, you're just another competitor like Kanyon Scott Steiner. If I get the win on you, I'll get the win on you just as quick as I will on any of them. And already says I expect nothing less, buddy. Bro. So we want just a quick promo. There you go. And then, in a good match, the Deadpool Macias, Morningstar, and Lestat defeat Booker T, Jason Jett, and Paul London in 1457 when Morningstar pinned Jason Jett with the last rights. This gets an 86. So it's just, back and forth, crazy match. Jett and London use their, high-flying action to sort of get some sort of, not fight against basically big crossbodies and drop kicks and other high flying moves on Macias. Morningstar and Jett London do back and forth wrestling matches. Lestat comes in, does a little bit of brawling and cheating. Booker T gets hot tags, makes a comeback, knocks Macias out, but in the end Morningstar has Jett in the middle of the ring, hits the last rights on him, and that's the big win for him. Paul London gets a 70, Jason Jett gets a 65, Booker T gets an 86, Lestat gets a 66, Morningstar gets an 86, Macias gets an 88, and just a really good setup. It's basically it's already a 6-way brawl when Morningstar gets Jett in the middle of the ring and gets a pinfall on him, and that means the fight only continues, which gets a 79. When basically Vampire comes in, to help the heels, but then Goldberg comes in and starts hitting spears on everybody, and it's madness, and we've got, our final setup for the for the War Games match between our buddies, Deadpool versus all the baby faces at Fall Brawl. And this gets 79, not as good as I hoped it would be, but when you actually rate Lestat, Jett, and London on fighting, that's what you get, unfortunately. But still, really solid stuff. And then we have a Steiner and Kanyon backstage promo before the main event, where basically, where basically says Kanyon says, "Look, you've been gone for a while, so maybe you don't understand. It's not your WCW anymore, buddy. It's my WCW. I'm the future. I've been the world champion. It's been conspired to keep me out of the world title shot." And Steiner just says to Kanyon, "You're still a bitch. I'm still a big bad booty daddy. So get the hell out of my way. Go back and cry with the Horsemen, and I'll take care of business." So they're obviously getting along very, very, very well. This gets an 85. Really kick promo. Steiner's a really good promo, but I'm still not 100% what to do with him. But we'll see. I believe it's the main event next. Yeah. Okay. So. Oh. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So, in about that I fantastic heat and good wrestling, Scott Steiner and Kanyon defeated RVD and Eddy Guerrero in 1931 when Scott Steiner pinned Rob Van Dam. So, this is your classic, main event tag team style match. RVD and Kanyon go back and forth to start out with because they're the big feuds. Eddy is officially back in the WCW ring in the first time in years, and he goes after Kanyon and Steiner. Steiner's back after a few months layoff, so he hits huge suplexes on RVD and Eddy, back and forth. Long heat segment with Van Dam before Eddy comes in as a hot tag, goes wild, including probably hitting the three amigos on either Kanyon or Steiner. But in the end, Eddy and Kanyon actually, go after each other, but in the end, in the middle of the ring, Steiner is able to wall up Van Dam, hit a huge belly to belly superplex on him, and barely gets a pinfall victory before Eddy can come in and make the save. And this gets a 90. Eddy gets an 86, RVD gets a 92, Kanyon gets a 74, and Steiner gets a 65, but that's mainly because Steiner and Kanyon have zero chemistry as partners, which I guess works in the sense of what I was setting up throughout the night, but not in the sense that it makes a good match. But this gets a 90, which is still a great main event, and overall we get a 90. Okay, good stuff. 11,000 people, 90. Not too much you can complain about there. And then we move on to the actual show as this goes through. Survey says, let's look at what Raw did, and then we'll go from there. So Raw got an 89, which is, okay, slightly less than ours did. So let's look what they did. They had Matt Hardy, and no Trust Needed defeating Jerry Lynn and the Outcast. They had Tristan Molly defeating Your New Heroines, which is okay. That's actually a decent name for a heel tag team. Julian Taylor, okay. Brock Lesnar promo. Big Show defeated Ron by DQ. Kane defeated Skull. Shawn Michaels defeated K-Quick in a 98, because of course it was. Kurt Angle defeated Randy Orton by DQ in 93, because of course it was. And the main event, Triple H and Brock Lesnar defeated The Undertaker and Steve Austin by DQ, which got a friggin' 99, because of course it did. Wow. See, that's what I mean by just not fair. They can have that match and gets a 99. Maybe, but probably not. Let's see here. Any email? Oh, right. Kaz. Let me see if this actually means anything as far as medicals. Okay, no. Okay, it's just a random 5-day thing. So, as a quick thing, I'll go over the 2 Saturday nights we had basically taped, as the next one will be before the pay-per-view. So, we had Toro opening a show where he's looking to create a Roman Legion. Then we had Jonathan Toro defeating Conan, which got a 49. We had a Toro and Elizabeth celebrating, which got a 42. We had a Nitro recap. We had Amber O'Neil defeating Josie, who's future Sojourner Bolt, I think, which got a 39. We had Jim Rock and Sajak defeating Blister King Yang, which got a 54. And we had Shira defeating Shaq Evans in a 59 to retain the TV title. The next week we had Jonathan Cole defeating Josie, which got, again, 22, because nobody was over enough. We had Ela Skipper defeating Scott Taylor and Shayna Moore in a random cruiserweight 3, which got a 38. We had Jonathan Toro defeating Lash LaRue, which got a 40. And in the main event, we had James Storm defeating Mark Jindrak, Teddy Hart, and Cash, which got a 68. So this is just a setup for the pre-show match for the pay-per-view, which is going to be a 4-way tag match. And yeah. And then if we look at our creative, our storylines, we've got Flair versus Wright at an 86. We got Cruiserweight Fun at a 66. We got Goldberg and Booker versus Macias and Morningstar at an 82. We have the Helms Legacy versus Hart Dynasty at a 68. We have Jonathan Toro at a 46. We have Kanyon on RVD at a 90. We have Kidman and Hardy at a 78, which I should probably... Oops, I forgot to change that to O'Hare. Not the end of the world. We got Tag Wars at an 81. We've got Ray and Sting versus Shane Helms at an 80. We have Vampiro versus Eddy at an 81. And we got the Women's Title Showdown at a 57. For the pay-per-view, we've got in the which probably going to be the main event, Eddie Guerrero versus Kanyon versus RVD versus Scott Steiner in a 4-way match, return the number 1 contender to the world title. We've got in a War Games match, the Deadpool versus Jason Jett, Paul London, Booker T, and Bill Goldberg. Deadpool have been fighting with Booker T and Goldberg for basically forever, and Jett and London are seeing to be the heroes for WCW. We've got Air Raid versus Jeff Jarrett and Shane Douglas for the World Tag Team titles. We've got Shane Helms versus Sting for the U.S. title. Can Sting end the reign of Shane Helms once and for all, or will Shane Helms have take another Legend scalp under his belt once again? And according to that, we got Ray Jr. versus Gigantes. Can Ray, be a giant killer once again, taking on down Gigantes? We've got Lexi James versus Gail Kim versus Angel Fox for the women's world title. Fox is facing two of the, most talented women on the roster. Can she defeat them both? We've got Jeff Hardy versus Jamie Noble for the Cruiserweight title. We have Alex Wright versus Ric Flair in a 2 out of 3 falls match. We've got Lance Storm versus Mike Awesome as Team Canada collides. And yeah, that's it. Oh, and of course we got in the aftermath of the Golden Gauntlet match where, Kidman sneakily eliminated O'Hare, it's Sean Hare versus Billy Kidman. So lots of big matches, and, maybe this will be the end of the Deadpool Babyface feud, or maybe it'll continue. Who knows? We'll see new number 1 contender for the world title. And, of course, that will include Eddie Guerrero's actual debut here in World Championship Wrestling. Well, Eddie Guerrero's pay-per-view debut here in World Championship Wrestling. But that's it for now. So if you enjoyed this, go ahead and give it a like. Comment below what you're enjoying and not enjoying. And subscribe to the channel for lots of TEW 2020 content, including this, my MLW 2004 Ruthless Aggression series, my WCW 1993 with no Eric Bischoff series, and much, much more. But that's all for now. So talk to you later, and adios.